Hello, everybody. This is SUMO community meeting on the 23rd of May 2018, and we are not working with SpaceX at all or anything like that. But yeah, today we're live and direct. You can watch us later as well. If you're watching us later, we're from your past. Hello, everybody. We have a lot of updates today. We have a ton of updates. We have a special guest. This is almost like Christmas. It's like the room is full of people. Like, there's a ton of stuff to talk about. It's Christmas. It's the festive season. So, dear people, we are, of course, an IRC on Pound Sumo on the Mozilla IRC channel. Sorry, server. The channel is Pound IRC. We have a ton of things in the agenda. We have lovely people in the room. So I believe we're just going to start with the agenda as soon as we can. Please put your name and or alias and or anything else that you have into the agenda if you're able to. The agenda has been shown on IRC. It's the same as usual. It's sumo-2018-5-23 because that's the year, month, date code for this meeting. And we are going to start from the very top. So there was an action item from last week. I was to check how to update the latest Thunderbird icon for version 60, which is coming up soon, and it is going to have a new refreshed visual design for the product icon. So we are on top of this, thanks to Chris. And we have the updates not in place. They're not there just yet, but I got the right resolution for the icon. We know where to drop it. Ryan gave me the right icon as well. So we are definitely ready to roll with that when it happens. That's going to happen early June, by the way, for those who may have forgotten about it. Then we're moving onwards to the roundtable items, and we have Kate in the room, so I'm just going to give it over to Kate and Rachel, I guess. And please, Kate, tell us a few words about yourself, and yours is the floor for the next few minutes. Go for it.
Give me a second. I'm gonna get out my slides.
So Joelle, can we switch over to Kate's slides to be the largest share? I'm pretty sure it's by default on the recording. Cool, thanks.
Sorry, I'm still trying to get this to share the correct thing. Very unhelpfully, it names the present mode and the other thing the same thing in video, so it's taking me a minute to be like, what should I share?
I see something different now.
Do you see something? Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay, let's see. So I'm on the diversity and inclusion team for contributors and communities. For those of you who are within Mozilla, organizationally, we sit in ops and open innovation. I realize that won't mean anything to folks who are volunteers. We did a survey last year of contributors, and we found that we talked to a tremendously diverse group of people. We talked to Europeans, we talked to North Americans, South Americans, lots of Asian contributors. We talked to female contributors, male contributors, non-binary and trans contributors. We talked to people at the beginning of their contribution journey and people who had been contributing for 5 or more years. We talked to both non-technical and technical contributors. And we found that overwhelmingly, and I would say we also spoke to community managers, community members. We spoke to people who were on open source projects outside of Mozilla to understand how we might be the same or different from the work that they do. And what we found overwhelmingly was that people didn't know what the community participation guidelines were. They didn't know how to report. and they didn't trust that the community participation guidelines were a tool for learning, a tool that could help keep their community safer, and a tool that they could use with each other to help them understand how to do things. For instance, there's a community participation guideline about leading by example that's supposed to really help us consider how we can be leaders in the community. There's one, and these positive guidelines are pretty much just as important, if not more important. I would say they're more important than the guidelines that say what we're not supposed to do. Um, so we've built a response process to the CPG that allows people to send in reports of things they think violate the CPG, and they can be clearly negative things um, like someone won't leave me alone when I've refused to tell them personal information. Someone has called me a name because of my gender. And those in a way are very clear cut to solve, but people also can make requests about maybe they don't feel safe, and they don't feel safe because one of the more positive guidelines is not being observed in their contributor community, and then we could talk about how to make that better. So we've had 22 reports so far. Reports can be sent in through the inclusion at mozilla.com address. And these are the process milestones. This is kind of a lot to look at, and I'll make sure these slides are linked in the Etherpad so you can take more look that we've found for working out cases. And I would say most of them don't take quite this depth, but when we have very difficult situations like one contributor harassing another or something, it's actually important for us to take all these steps so that we're in compliance with the relevant laws in that contributor's country, that sort of thing. So discovery. Honestly, right now we're not doing a very good job with surfacing the guidelines. This is one of the things that we found that we need to sort of teach people about the guidelines, and this kind of presentation is just the beginning. We need to and the reporting process right now is not very discoverable, and that's partially because it turns out that it's legally very complicated in different countries for lots of good reasons to do anonymous reporting. For instance, in Europe, people are very afraid of anonymous reporting because anonymous reporting was something that was used in Nazi Germany, and so they have very high and specific regulations around how we can do it. Whereas in the US, because we had several major problems with businesses that were reported just because anonymously, we actually have infrastructure set up that allows anyone at a company to report financial wrongdoing. And so it's really built into our culture. And so we're trying to figure out how to balance all of that legal stuff to get to a good solution. We triage reports as they come in based on whether they need involvement from legal, whether they leave because there might have been a law violated, whether they need involvement from HR because there was an employee or contractor involved, whether someone is in danger of immediate harm, whether it's something that can wait. We're still working out how to do this and how to set clear expectations about when people will hear back. We do an investigation process, which in the case of ones that actually are legal, that can be very formal. In the case of ones that are very simple, for instance, if I have a clear chat log that something has happened, the investigation can be very short, obviously. We generate recommendations. We have a thing called a consequence ladder that actually gives us some guidance so we can be sure to be consistent across areas of the project. So if someone violates a guideline in SUMO, then they violate it, and someone else violates the same guideline in add-ons, the same thing happens. And also it means that we have the opportunity to work with people through this process. The ladder is not meant to be punitive. It's meant to be a way that we're like, hey, this is a formal warning and we want you to take this seriously, but also you have a chance to try to do better. You have a chance to ask any questions. You have a chance to get coaching from staff or from other contributors around what happened. Um, and it's only in very extreme cases that we ban people because we actually value your work and your contributions a lot. And we believe that pretty much everyone here is here with an attitude of mutual respect and a desire to do better. And that mostly we can solve problems without telling people that they have to leave and they can't contribute. Um, we have a plan for notifying folks, and you'll notice some of the stuff here, like the assurance and safety plan, is for handling scarier situations like harassment. A lot of the Mostly it's just about communicating the decision both to the person who reported and the person who's been reported on. Um, and then we try to do follow up. We try to check back in and make sure if if we had sort of agreed with someone that they would do some more education, or they would or maybe a community manager would read over some of their stuff to make sure that they were that they were doing better. We try to check in about that. If someone has been banned, we actually put them through an entire re-onboarding after their ban, where we review kind of what happened and discuss sort of what their plan is and help them make a plan so that it doesn't happen again. Um, so that's the whole process. I realize it's quite complicated. Um, and what we found, I'm going to skip through these two slides because I want to be sensitive to your meeting time. Um, what we found is really working is we have a consultation group process that works really well when we have to involve legal and HR and perhaps like systems engineers and other things within the company. We have a crisis response process that works really well. For instance, God forbid if 4chan decides to launch all their efforts against SUMO, we have a plan for that. We're re-onboarding people after bans has worked really well, and we actually have multiple people who we have banned for a short period and who have come back and become actually continued their great contribution. Um, we have And all of these things are working really well. I would say what's not working really well for us right now is we don't have easy to follow documentation for the process. We don't have education around the participation guidelines. And we don't have good systems to scale the process and make sure that you're getting an answer quickly, that we're always properly following up, because that's often a challenge. It's like, oh, well, that was 2 months ago. That might as well have been forever. And we don't have good systems to record actions that might be taken by somebody like Rachel in fairly straightforward stuff. Um, that's pretty much what I brought in terms of slides about the enforcement process. I'm going to turn off the share. How do I do this? Stop sharing. And I want to answer any questions you have about either the enforcement process or the guidelines themselves.
Thank you very much for this, Kate. I'm just taking a quick look at IRC, and if anybody in the room has any questions about the
Oh, I
process
should
so
join
far.
IRC. I'm sorry.
No worries. I mean, we're on IRC, like no worries. If I'm just
Oh,
monitoring that
I
part as well.
totally. You're in hashtag Sumo or somewhere else?
Yes, we're in hashtag Sumo. We should be there. And if anybody has any questions or comments, Kate just joined. I think I mean, it all depends on, well, the questions people may have potentially. Anybody in the room with questions?
Anything in the Etherpad?
Or anything in the Etherpad as well. Let's take a look there. We don't seem to have any questions. I guess one of the things is also it's kind of a new thing for a lot of people, or a new thing. Many people know about it already, but it's the depth and the depth and complexity of this is new to a lot of people, and yeah, it may take a while for people to take a look at the slides, to digest, to come up with questions. But yeah, I assume we don't have any questions for now. We gave
Yeah.
people like around a minute or two. So Kate, thank you very, very much for this. This was very enlightening, I would say. Like it's great to know that we do have things in place. I'm really looking forward to seeing more people get on board the CPG and everything else regarding, well, creating a harmoniously coexisting community of very varied individuals across the whole planet, because that's what we basically are. So it's yeah,
Right.
that's one of the magical components of Mozilla, just people from everywhere doing a lot of different things together and having loads of different backgrounds, experiences, and approaches to many different things in life, including technology as well.
Right. And I'll
Uh,
add this process is new, like in the world. No one really, this takes inspiration from the way that HR folks frequently investigate cases in a workplace because, after all, SUMO, all our other contribution areas are a little like a workplace in that you're all working together. But this, no one else puts this time and energy into conflict resolution in their contributor communities, and I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing what comes out of it and if everyone can eventually kind of get along better and be happier.
yep. Okay. Perfect. Well, so by the way, if we will have any more questions, or if we're going to have feedback from anybody in the community who may have watched this later on, we'll definitely get back to you, Kate. But once again, thank you so much for coming over
Yeah.
and giving us your time and explaining what's going on and why it's happening and how it's happening. That's very important information, and definitely a good starting foundation for, well, like I said before, a harmoniously collaborating community around the whole world, which is what we are a part of. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on then, and we're gonna go to the updates and announcements. So, product updates, and I think we lost to Roland, so I'm just gonna read out what we have here by MKL and Roland. So we have 61.0 B6, the beta developer edition released for Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android. So 4 systems grabbing it and using it already, the beta and developer edition. Also 5.0 Focus for Android out there in the wild. There are some rollout issues, so yeah, people are working on it with Google. So high level, high stakes when it comes to making sure that Focus for Android is updated on your devices. Please be patient. The new version will reach all your tools using Android and your devices using Android as soon as possible. But yeah, sometimes things just happen. You know, you can, with every release or with every rollout, there may be something happening and there's not much that can be done. So thank you for your patience with that. Now, moving onwards and moving very fast, we're going to try and blaze through the agenda if possible. We have quite a few things here. We have the cool news of the week, and I'm just going to rush through it. The US Senate voted to reject the FCC's repeal of net neutrality. So there's more voting around net neutrality. The whole world is watching. That's fairly important. Follow the news. It's important to know what's going on. Fortunately, the Firefox and the Mozilla accounts are definitely updating everybody on what's going on all the time as well, as are many other news and media outlets out there. We do have two-factor authentication for Firefox accounts. So that's two-step, yeah. Two-step authentication for Firefox accounts. Very important, very safe, and very needed. So make sure you read the blog article about it and that you deploy it as soon as possible, that you enable it on your account. And we finally have Google Hangouts and Google Meet working fully in Firefox, which is good because Hangouts is something that some people still use, I think, and I always had problems telling them like, hey, we should use something else. But now it's going to work fully in Firefox, which is great, great, great. Plus, a Firefox privacy guide found by MKL. Thank you so much for this link. Definitely click it and take a look at it later. Now, community updates, and I'm going to do this all in 65 seconds, I hope. We met last week with almost the whole team, I wish, but 4 out of 6 team members, admins from SUMO met in Berlin for a research meetup. We had a session, a very long session, looking at historical support Mozilla.org contribution metrics. So we have an agency from Denmark working on going through the data, analyzing things, coming up with ideas, basically doing a lot of number crunching and digging deep and looking at different trends and patterns that they detected in the data. Quite a lot of interesting stuff there, but we want to definitely present this to you in a more complete way. They had preliminary data and preliminary suggestions or findings available. We're going to wait. We're going to give them a bit more time to finish this because it's really a lot of interesting data out there. And then we're going to present it to you. Probably there will be like a special community meeting around this. We also had the researchers from the Copenhagen Institute of Design with us. Andrew, he was there. Well, actually, I said researchers, it was just him, but we had this workshop, which was 2 days long. And we were looking at the existing community support models across 3 different organizations outside of Mozilla. So we were looking at WordPress.org, Arduino, and Kaggle. If you don't know Kaggle, you can easily look it up because the name is quite unique. But generally, those 3 organizations have community-driven support that is similar to what we're doing, but also different. And Andrew led the research on this for the last month and a half, I would say, or a month. And there was a lot of interesting stuff in there. Some of you have been interviewed for his studies. He did a lot of interviews also with people from these organizations that I just mentioned. We had a lot of time to brainstorm and think about stuff, ask difficult questions or provocative questions. And basically, there are kind of 9 big things coming out of this research meetup. This is not, of course, the complete thing. There's a lot of material out there, but the preliminary things that we want to share with you is that we had those kind of 6 provocations, as Andrew called them, where we were supposed to kind of look at what we're doing and what is happening with supportmozilla.org from a slightly different angle. I'm just going to drop the names and very quickly explain what they can mean. So structured communities always leak. So no matter the amount of structuring and organization you put into creating a community or organizing a community, there will always be something else happening around it. And people should definitely have the opportunity and the resources to do it as well. So we can't have a perfectly hermetical community. We cannot have everything super organized all the time. Leakage will happen, and leakage is good most of the time. And we will have to learn how to deal with this leakage and how to make it work for everybody. Then we have gamification, which is a big elephant in the room, I would say. And it is a valve, not a pipe. What it means is basically we should not be using gamification to create new structures or to create new models or to create new ways of doing stuff. Gamification is something that can help reinforce positive activities and help curb negative or unwanted activities. So it's more of a very delicate brush rather than a big hammer and chisel when you're just going to, destroy something and start from scratch. So gamification is not going away in our lives, but we're definitely going to be more gentle with it, and we're not going to try and put things upside down just because we think badges are great or some cool stars are better than their lack. Contributors have ownership without agency. So this is a very important finding and a very important thought. There is a lot at stake when we have people in the community supporting users. This is kind of the front line of finding bugs, of troubleshooting issues, of making people happy with what they're using. So there is a lot of ownership, there is a lot of pressure in a way on the shoulders of contributors for support, but there's very little agency, there's very little opportunities for those contributors to actually directly interact with the people who make the product that is being supported. And this is something we really have to go in deeper and definitely focus on that. So there will be more talking about that in the near future. Contributors aren't born, they're made. So we definitely don't find people contributing, out of nowhere. It's a process becoming a contributor. It's a process becoming a great contributor. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes experience and a bit of skill and a lot of, basically trying things out. So we have to get better at making sure that you know how you can become a better contributor. Supporting the supporters is very, very, very important. So generally, whatever happens, we should be on your side, and whatever happens around the product, we should make sure that the product also works for you. And generally, supporting the supporters is about building structures, but not overbuilding, that are going to be there for you whenever you need them. This is kind of segueing into the last one, which is about optimizing communication channels. So we have a lot of different things, a lot of different ways, a lot of different methods of communicating, sharing information, working together, trying things out, experimenting, and so on. And each of those has upsides and downsides. Each of those has some good things about it and some negative things about it. We have to master the way all those channels, all those means of communication work, and figure out how to use them to our benefit and what to cut. So this is about kind of making things a bit leaner and maybe a bit meaner, but definitely more efficient. Out of this, we had 3 project proposals. These are kind of keywords for them, so they're not project names at all, but it was the Propaganda, Switchboard, and Alchemist. Generally, making support a part of onboarding for new full-time Mozillians. So anybody there's a new hire at Mozilla, they would actually get proper support experience. They would become a contributor. They would go through the same training as everybody else. They would try and support people. They would see how the sausage is made, so to speak, on the support side of things. There's an idea of a project called Switchboard, again, a code name, which would be trying to find out where the discourse happens about Firefox and issues related to Firefox, and not only where can we find things outside of Mozilla space. So we're not talking about Bugzilla, we're not talking about Twitter and the people who we know are there, like our so to speak allies on Twitter. It's more about just taking the internet as a whole and figuring out, okay, what is exactly going on the internet? Where do we find the information? There's Reddit, there's Facebook, there are many other places where people write about things. And if they write about Firefox, we want to know why they're writing about Firefox and what can be done about it to increase people's understanding of how Firefox works and why it sometimes breaks, for example. So finding where we can actually talk to the people without overloading our existing community, of course. And then there was Alchemist, which was all about supercharging the self-driven Mozillian education. So making sure that whatever you want to know about support or whatever you want to know about the way Firefox can be fixed, and whatever you want to know about how support.mozilla.org works, we figure out how to present it to you if you are here from day 1 or day 0 even, how to give it to you in a very digestible way that's easy for you to use on your own, at your own pace, whenever you need it. So this was this was not 3 minutes, this was more like 5, sorry for that. But we had a lot of discussions around this, and this is just kind of the beginning. So Chris, I see that you wrote on IRC that, yeah, we have to go through this stuff again next week. We are kind of over time already. I'm going to try and rush through the rest of the agenda anyway. But yeah, we will definitely be talking about this in the near future and in the long-term future as well, because this is the beginning of a big design process for the future of support in general at Mozilla. So not only, this is not about supportmozilla.org, this is generally how does Mozilla support things. And this was a very cool session that we had last week together with our friends from Open Innovation and our guests from Denmark. Now, no more questions about this. I'm moving onwards to the platform update. We don't have Madalina this week, so probably there's no meeting tomorrow. And Chris, you're asking whether there's a way to report the votes dropping, the number of votes for articles dropping massively on March 25th. I would say best place to file a bug is Bugzilla, because that's,
Okay.
it's a good place to do some research there, and people will definitely know what's going on. Please file it, assign it to Madalina. She's going to be back next week, and she's definitely going to look into this. This is from March 25th, so it's kind of historical, but it's good to know and figure out what happened on that day.
Yeah, I went through the past meeting minutes, and it looks like the move to AWS was the same week. So I
Chances
suspect
are this is,
that's part of
yeah,
that.
but it's a good thing to definitely know what happened there. We actually, speaking of outages or issues, we had a temporary read-only mode this weekend due to traffic handling issues. So there were some things happening with the website that were not supposed to be happening. We had huge spikes in server loads, and there was a lot of work done. It has been resolved successfully. So huge thanks to everybody on the engineering team, whether they're working in marketing or whether they're working in the data centers and the traffic teams, just making sure that things worked out and people took their time on the weekend while being on holidays and so on, looking into stuff and making sure that Sumo is up. So huge thanks one more time. I'm going to have a list of names for the next meeting, or we're going to have Madalena, I don't know, write a blog post about it, because it was definitely quite epic that it was fixed so fast and attended so fast. So once again, big thanks for keeping the site up. We had, we have UX thread started by you, Chris. Thank you so much. And this is generally about the mocks we shared last week, and there's only 3 of them and they're work in progress. Please keep your feedback coming. We're going to have some more feedback shared there on the thread from our designers. We definitely have questions around, what visuals you think could be good. So please do expect those questions appearing in the thread as well. One of the points made, for example, by the designers that I can kind of spoil here, and it's going to be there as well, is that the stark black and white contrast of the site is there for basically accessibility and readability of the page. It's much easier for many people to just see what's going on the page if we have things in very simple basic colors. Right now it's not super problematic, but it can definitely be better. And it's a trend that has been appearing in web design for a while now, where you just use black and white mostly, or you just go for very contrasting colors just to make sure that the content is easy to identify and to navigate. Oh yeah, we have a new issue. Oh, okay. This just popped up, so I assume this is Rachel posting. Yeah, we are going to look into videos not working on the site right now. Very important. Things usually break when Madalena is out, I think we should just make sure she never has holidays. Okay, bad idea. Moving fast onward. No contributor of the week nominations this week, but if you have somebody there, please drop their name into the Etherpad and we'll definitely sing their praises soon, because you're all awesome in general. So that's it. I mean, you're all doing an amazing work for the users out there with our little help. Moving onwards to knowledge base and L10N. We've had over 120 revisions since last week, so thanks for participating. Thank you for putting in the time and the effort and localizing the site ongoingly. We have an update about the cleanup proposal. There is a blog post from April. I have been sending the questionnaire to the contributors across 30 different locales that are kind of candidates for the cleanup, so candidates for being archived because of low traffic, no community activity, and generally us trying to figure out how to make the site a bit less sprawling and just a bit easier to navigate for people. The general the bottom line for this is I'm looking for group commitment, so I'm sending this to many different contributors across those locales to complete 100 top articles by the end of this year. So it's about completing and maintaining the top 100 articles in their locale if they want the locale to stay in. There is a plan. It's still 7 months or 6 months in the year, so we can definitely figure it out and organize sprints. Which actually drives me to the next point, which is there will be a big L10N update at the all hands meeting in 3 weeks and a bit regarding closer cooperation and resource sharing with L10N and product teams. This is something that has been discussed before. The Open Innovation team is definitely pointing us in that direction as well. We want to work all together to figure out how we can do it in a smooth way that we will have all the people localizing at Mozilla working together without having to worry whether they're doing it for product support or anything else. We're just going to try and figure out how to get all the people together. Oof, I'm going to have a very needed break right now from talking, and I'm going to pass it over to Rachel for the support forum and social support updates. Rachel, off you go.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Sorry for the construction going on above my head. I will try to be as loud as possible. Someone is getting a brand new toilet upstairs and they just are so they just need their new toilet by the time that it's their end of day. So hold your horses. I'll be as fast as possible. The updates for support forum. Good work on the sumo days. Thank you so much for helping out from MKLL, and thank you from me for all of your help. More will be summarized on. So every sumo day we do a participation summarization and summation of issues. So please stay tuned for a postmortem on a coming Friday to talk about some of those issues and any open questions that we might still have from this 60 release. So thank you so much for all, and we look forward to more participation in the future. I'm going to delete that second bullet point and move on. So there's also a Slack experiment going on. So there's two experiments that came out of working with the Open Innovation team. You may have heard of one later in this meeting, but this one is we're doing a minor experiment around 5 or 6 people that have access to the Mozilla Slack channels to help alleviate some of the silos and efficiency of communicating between product teams and support. So if you have any questions about that, we sent out a survey to those that are participating to get an idea of the expectations that they have and the experiences that they have with what they might think that they think having access to Slack will help with this particular um, hypothesis. So we hope in the next 3 weeks to get more of their feedback and any findings that they have from participating in this experiment. See if that is a way to go for escalation paths. That is. If you have any questions about that, right now it's closed for just those people to participate in by invitation. But if you have any questions about the process or any updates that you'd like to know how it's going, please feel free to reach out to me directly. After the experiment has been run, we'll probably open up the findings and discussions for more information on how to gain access to the Mozilla Slack and sort of the motivations behind there. If you are interested in that right now, there is a Mozilla wiki page that you can check out that explains sort of the etiquette around Slack and access to NDAs. So if you do want to opt into that, there is a process where you fill out a form, make sure you're familiar with the community participation guidelines, and make sure that you're vouched by the team to get access to that. So thank you so much for those participating, and we look forward to hoping to break up the efficiency for answering questions with the support team there. Moving on to social support, there's going to be a newsletter at the end of May coming to you. If you have not been receiving these, please reach out to me, and I will add you to the list to opt in. Check out the Community Social Support Forum. It has been renamed, so if you sign up, if you're part of the social community and you have no idea what I'm talking about, go to support.mozilla.org, sign up for a SUMO account, and click I want to sign up as a contributor. It'll be in the bottom right. And look for in contributor tools, the contributor forums. It'll be halfway down there. I also provided a link directly to that particular forum if you have any questions. There is an opportunity also to invite and say hello to other users that have found that forum. So just connecting people in our. I realize that we have 6+ different places where we're collaborating on social. So this is hopefully to try to unite those places in a centralized place. We do also have some changes being made in the backlog for our Get Involved page. I know there's not a Get Involved page at the moment, so right now we're pointing people to this link below, the social support Get Involved, the wiki page, and the discussion forum. So yeah, so you all know where to find each other. If you'd like to get involved, check out that social support guideline. So I'm going to turn off my sound and hand the mic back over to me.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Record time. And yeah, I sometimes get people working on all the different buildings around me as well. So hey, that's just life. We should probably all move to the desert and just have camels, being noisy in the background. Anyway, jokes. If you want to see what MKLL looks like while typing all the notes in Etherpad that he usually does all the time before every meeting, thank you so much for that. You have a screenshot of that there, or screenshot. Actually, it's a live look. Yeah, it's animated. And in the help needed section, and actually, this is thank you so much for putting it in there as well because I totally forgot. because our agenda was already super long. But we have a small issue with Firefox and Ubuntu and Linux Mint. So basically on Linux distributions that are the most popular ones, I guess, right now, redirecting to the English or the British versions of Mozilla sites since the update to version 60.0. Probably something that you can reproduce, maybe perhaps, but yeah, make sure that if you can reproduce it, talk to MKLL about this. Yeah, this is this is a very quirky, interesting issue. So this is not like a red alert emergency, everybody on deck. It's more like, what's going on there? So definitely keep an eye out on this. For this, sorry. And then a super duper exciting thing indeed by June the 1st, so there's still a week to do so. You can easily start an event with the support sprint on the support.sprint.mozilla.community site. And yes, this is related to support.mozilla.org. And yes, you can totally sign up, whoever you are, wherever you are. Take a look at the website. All the details are there. Thank you so much to the people from the Open Innovation team working on this, and from the reps team helping us out on that as well. It's a new thing. I totally forgot that this was actually launched last week as well because of all the research and design discussions. So my head is full of research and design. I don't have space, for community events, which is bad. But yeah, definitely we'll be giving you more information about this, or well, more information. Everything is on the site. Just take a look. We will be repeating this URL as often as we can in many different places. Take a look, sign up, have fun. We already have 15 events. Woo, last time I checked it was 11. Great. So we're going up. If we reach 500, it's going to be amazing. And we're going to do something crazy online, I guess, like something special. We're going to wear silly hats or something, or silly costumes. Anyway, that's it for this meeting. We went a bit over time, but I think it was totally worth it. Apologies for rushing so much. Like I said, many items on the agenda from today are going to be expanded upon in the coming months and weeks and months. So please be patient with us. There's a lot of stuff happening, as you can see. There's the all hands coming up, which will probably add to the mix as well. But we're really looking forward to sharing all the information with you. If you have any questions, concerns, anything else, you know where to find us on the forums or in person online. Do let us know. And that's the meeting for today, dear friends and revolutionaries. Take it easy. Have a great Wednesday afternoon, evening, morning, whatever you have. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Ciao.
Bye.